TNA Wrestling crosses the line again for another TNA Impact as we're on that road to Bound for Glory in October, which will be one of TNA's biggest shows. But we've got a lot of Impact to get through before we get to that. But let's start with Impact this week. Alicia Edwards starts the show. She said that she would not be getting disrespected by Masha Slamovich anymore. Now, coincidentally, that brought Masha Slamovich out. And for the first time in her TNA run, the Russian Dynamo spoke English. And she said that she was sick and tired of hearing Alicia's voice. And eventually it brought out Tasha Steelze and Alicia Edwards both tagged Masha before Jordan Grace made the save. And then, of course, that brought out Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers of the System, to which it brought out Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys, to make the save for Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich. And this is starting to be on the road to Bound for Glory. The Hardys obviously chasing tag team gold, System, of course, champions, and Jordan Grace now with lots of enemies, it seems, if you count Alicia Edwards and Tasha Steelze, as well as obviously Rosemary and Wendy Chu. And Santina Marella did actually make a match for Jordan Grace tonight. She'd have a mystery partner from NXT, actually, and that would against Rosemary and Wendy Chu, the mystery partner from NXT. Will be partnering Jordan Grace, which will be very, very interesting to see who that is. The NXT partnership in full swing for TNA. Definitely this week on Impact, that is for sure. And as I say, they would go against Rosemary and Wendy Chu later on in the show. And Masha Slamovich would indeed team up with the Hardy Boys to take on Tasha Steelze and the System as well. Looking forward to that. Now, backstage, Eric Young did confront Josh Alexander. He tells Josh that he understood where he was and remind Alexander of a lot of people that were looking him up as a leader. Now it's the time to take it seriously. So that's interesting. What's going on there? The dynamic between Alexander and Young. What's happening there? It's going to be very interesting to see where that goes as we head towards Bound for Glory on October. Just as a reminder, you can watch weekly TNA Impact and all the pay-per-views on the TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded and subscribe. You can also watch weekly Impact on AXS TV in America as Ayozat TV over here in the UK. That's Sky Channel. That will be changing. We'll get that for you as well. And DAZN, of course, for the streaming side of it. Now, back for our first match, Saint and Sinner, which is Judas Icarius and Travis Williams. Thanks, Travis, for having an easier name, against First Class. Now, they did, First Class did indeed pick up the win with a down payment on this, but I really like Saint and Sinner. They have the fundamental makings of a great, great team. And it could be very beneficial for TNA in the future to have these guys on board. I know they have signed a contract with them, so they're going to be interesting to see where that takes them as we lead into Bound for Glory. First Class, of course, AJ Francis, Casey Navarro, looking good as ever. And I'm really interested in, Casey Navarro is not officially signed from what I hear from TNA yet. Hopefully that will change because he is an excellent talent. AJ Francis, again, always impressing now. And we've said this so many times on this channel about how AJ Francis, someone who wasn't getting the game time in the WWE, was going to come on and do bigger and better things. The character development, the First Class team. We know that was with Rich Swann until Rich Swann had a few personal issues. And now it's going back to Casey Navarro, a very high flying, great prospect. A lot like Rich Swann in many ways. So he kind of makes up for that high flying attribute that Rich Swann had. So very, very good team in the making here for First Class. They do pick up the victory over the ever impressive, though, Saint and Sinner. I am indeed looking forward to seeing more from Saint and Sinner. Hopefully, as the weeks progress on Impact, we'll see a lot more of them. But for this week only, though, Casey Navarro, AJ Francis picking up the victory. Mike Santana was backstage, and wow, my goodness, later on in this show, He has a Texas death match. Apologies, I was just sorting out my light. And he has a Texas death match later on in the show with Johnny Dango Curtis. It's going to be incredible. But he said that the match where he promises to baptize Johnny Dango Curtis in his own blood because he and the system are locked up with him. Very, very interesting to see where that goes. Tonight's match is gonna be a nightmare to watch, for sure. There's gonna be a lot of stuff going on in that, and I am very much looking forward to this Texas Death Match that we'll be seeing later on Impact. Mike Santana's been ever impressive since returning to TNA as well. It's great over at Progress Wrestling. I really want to see him focusing now on perhaps a championship run, going for the world title, perhaps, who knows? But Mike Santana, for me, really needs to be in title contention in TNA sooner rather than later, please, because he is without a doubt a great, great talent. And he's showing it. Again, we talk about how talents, week in, week out when they're on TV, development of character and all sorts. We've heard his story and how he's sober and everything else. And now what we're getting to with Mike is it's time to let the wrestling do the talking, so to speak. And hopefully we'll get to see a lot more from Mike as TNA rolls on to Bound for Glory. Another promo, this time Mike Bailey, obviously retaining winning, the X Division championship from Zachary Wentz. He needs to be the best of the best, and he looks forward to teaming with Leon Slater and Kushida against Zachary Wentz and ABC. I mean, what a six-man that's going to be, right? That's going to be incredible six-man tag. You look at those, Leon Slater, Kushida, who had a match just recently as well, a pre-show match just recently, an X Division showcase. All of those competitors are very, very much in the X Division title picture as well. Kushida's a great worker. Zachary Wentz and Bullet Club ABC. You could have an argument that those guys, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, could very much indeed be in that picture if they choose to be that and they don't go back for the tag titles. They could very much be in the X Division picture going forward on TNA. That would be a very interesting prospect indeed. Leon Kushida as well into that mix. Mike Bailey has been, he lost that championship, but he was a warrior and won it back. And that match has got you drooling, hasn't it? It really has you drooling at the think of what this could be, or what this six-man tag is going to be, and what potentially happens after the six-man tag with the X Division. It is one of the most exciting divisions in wrestling, without a shadow of a doubt. One of the matches I always look forward to is the X Division showcases, X Division title, Ultimate X. They're all matches that I absolutely love to see. And when we do find out who's next for Mike Bailey, it will no doubt be a very special match. But the six-man tag is looking very tasty indeed. We have another promo at this point. This is Steph DeLander. She spoke to PCO and she says that PCO should be patient before fighting Matt Cardona. Obviously, this match has never really happened yet between PCO and Matt Cardona. Really looking forward when it does happen. I still have this inkling that the Lander's going to end up going against PCO. I don't know why, but I just have that inkling. I've had it for a while, and I think when they do both finally meet, maybe a Bound for Glory, it could be a Bound for Glory, who knows? I have this feeling that Steph's going to be with Matt Cardona come what the end of that particular match that they have, when they have it anyway. Yeah, I'm just not entirely sure right now that I'm still not sure. I just have, I don't know. Be patient. I think that patience will run out at Bound for Glory is my opinion. And as I said, that is when I believe that Steph DeLander will indeed rejoin Matt Cardona at that point and screw PCO out of the match. Maybe she gets a damage. I know she says she has a neck injury, and hopefully it's not serious. Of course, no mention of surgery yet from what we've heard either. So hopefully it's rehabilitation, and after a few weeks she'll be okay, but we'll wait and see. the next match was actually the aforementioned Matt Cardona. He was against Rhino, the good old war horse, the war beast, the man beast Rhino, ECW legend Rhino. Cardona gets DQ'd in this by using a chair on Rhino, and that caused the DQ. And he did at the end. PCO did try and get his pound of flesh at the end on Cardona. Let's grant you that he did indeed come down to the ring. They attacked him. He tried to hit the PCO salt, but Matt Cardona runs like a scolded dog, as JR would say. But interesting with that, Rhino. So good to see. Always good to see Rhino. Looking forward to seeing Rhino actually in a few short weeks over at Slam Masters in Cardiff. It should be a great night there. And to see Rhino and now Eric Young, who's replacing Moose on that particular show. It will be great, though, to see the Rhino. I'd always love my old-fashioned, not the old-fashioned ones, but I always love the older guys. And we had Tooth Guerrera on NWA this week, and seeing Rhino on TNA brought a smile to my face. But Matt Cardona's in trouble, but it's whether or not Steph Delander's allegiance is still with PCO come what may. Now, women's knockouts tag team champions Spitfire were in action against Kendall Gray and Carly Bright. There was indeed a victory, of course, for Spitfire from the pressure drop on Kendall. I really like Spitfire, and I'm glad although I did say that they'd probably lose that match. I had a feeling that they were going to lose and maybe turn on each other, but it was actually ended up the other way. Obviously with Masha and Alicia, although it was Tasha Steelze covering for Alicia in that particular match. But they are still very, very good as a team. I like how they're getting more coalition, like sort of working together more tag team moves are coming into play for them as they've been together a while now, and it's starting to show a little bit more. At first, when you're a tag team, you have to work on that cohesion, work on that, tag team ability, so to speak. But now with months and months down the line, they're very much looking like a solid tag team in TNA, and long may it continue now. Now they're still together, so to speak, in tag team format for Spitfire. Kendall Gray and Carly Bright, listen, they were pretty good. They were decent enough opponents as well, but I never thought that result was in doubt, if I'm being totally honest with you. I always thought it was always going to be a Spitfire win on this, but nevertheless, Spitfire, who's going to challenge Spitfire? Bound for Glory. And no doubt the Knockouts tag team titles will be on the line Bound for Glory, but who will it be? We'll have to wait and see. Heather Reckless, remember, debuted last week and aligned herself with Ash by Elegance. She approached them in the dressing room and she said she would accept their offer to help with her style. Heather asked if they could watch her match next week against Zaya Brookside. So we're going to get Heather Reckless, Zaya Brookside next week, two pocket rockets in the TNA Knockouts division. The new Heather Reckless, Zaya Brookside, ever impressive on this. I love it. And they are going to be very, very good. That's going to be a very well balanced match, I think, though, with those two together in the ring. I think it's going to work very well. Hopefully the chemistry will be there. But in terms of like their stature, in terms of how they work in the ring, those two should really have a really decent match. And obviously we're going to have to watch Ash by Elegance for this, and obviously the Concierge, if they're going to get involved in the match. We'll wait and see. But Zaya and Heather next week should be pretty solid. The street fight, the Texas death match, whatever you want to call it, it was absolute bananas between Santana and JDC. It was crazy. It was everything you could imagine it to be between these two guys. Obviously, a lot of Santana going through the system, seemingly man by man, wanting to get to Moose. Started off with JDC, and it just go out your way to watch this match. It was absolutely crazy with the two. As I said before, I love Santana. I think he is brilliant. I really want to see more of it and more of him in a ring week in, week out on TNA. And it is so good to see. Even JDC, because he has done so much in this. And he's like evolved again. He was evolving on TNA, and he evolved even more into this new character. And it's crazy how good he actually is. And I think sometimes it goes amiss how good he is in the ring. Santana was always good in the ring, but we never saw enough of him in other companies. But now we are seeing him. And again, the more that we see of these guys, the more they watch and the more they impress in the ring. I mean, Santana with the two chairs, set them back to back in the middle of the ring. And JDC escapes it at one point. It goes out the back door though when he tries to do it. But there was so much going on this match, and it's you know they Santana was power bombed across those double chairs that he set up. The crowd were chanting, "This is awesome" through it. It was crazy. There was kendo sticks in there. There was trash cans. It was, oh my God, it was crazy. And there was also a bit where JDC had put the trash can over Santana. He leaped off the top rope with the down and dirty on him. Jeez, there was so much. Santana was out on the floor upon the impact. He does get the trash can off his head. It was just going crazy on this, and there was more blood at this point as well. It was Santana was bleeding on it. It was just Jesus. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, Barbed wire baseball bat gets involved as well. He whacks JDC with it and drawing some blood from him to even up the Crimson Mask count. I mean, and that's when it head into like a break, thankfully. But when we return, they're still spitting blood. JDC is like a stuffed pig. He is bleeding so much after the break. It was incredible. And at the end, finally, it culminates with Santana leaping off a ladder and putting JDC through some tables or some staging equipment for the 10 count. And finally, and thankfully, the match ended, but it didn't end for Santana because he was attacked by Moose with a chair, repeatedly attacked by a chair, and leaves Santana laying on the floor at the end of that match. But my goodness me, what a match that is. It was crazy in every sense of the word. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Go out your way this week to watch that match if you can on the TNA Plus app or wherever you watch TNA. Make sure you check that match out. It is nuts. Now, we mentioned earlier on that Eric Young was saying to Josh Alexander that you should be a leader, you should be a locker room leader. Well, the walking locker room leader, Josh Alexander, was shown backstage. He was catching up actually with Sinner and Saint, who had that match earlier on. And he explained to them the competition level for guys like them is a whole new standard when you enter promotion at TNA Wrestling. He tells them to keep their head up and keep trying. I don't know about this from Josh Alexander, but, is he a locker room leader? Maybe time will tell on that. I'm not too sure. I think this is leading towards something. I don't know what, not necessarily Jake something, but something. And I don't know what it is yet. But Josh Alexander, locker room leader. We'll see about that. Exciting news though. Next week on TNA, we're going to see Li Ying Li, which is Xylee, is coming to TNA next week. It'll be the debut of the former Xylee in WWE. I am really looking forward to this. Again, someone with a great pedigree, great in the ring. We never got to see enough of her in the WWE. To have her come to TNA in a very good division, there should be a lot of matches that Xylee or Leon Lee is going to have in TNA with the knockouts that's going to propel her if they use her right, if they put her in the right way, if we get matches, if we get feuds, if we get a development of character that we've seen with like Ash by Elegance, AJ Francis, Santana, JDC, then I'm going to call her Yingli, will be very, very welcome in TNA. And we should see a lot of her in the division. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing that, a lot more of her in ring as she makes her debut next week. Should be really, really good. Now we go back inside the Impact Zone and we hear the words of Joe Hendry He's out, Kazarian's out, and Nick Nemeth is out. And there will be, I believe, a #1 contender match between Joe Hendry and Kazarian for the world title shot. But before that, Kazarian demands that he actually gets the title shot. Nick Nemeth come out and, he was like, look, you got to earn it like everybody else. And then TNA director Santino Marella come out and he said there will be a Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian match next week. And the winner will go on to Bound for Glory to face the most wanted man, Nick Nemeth. What a match that is scheduled to be next week. Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian, #1 contenders match for the TNA World Championship at Bound for Glory. The main event will be set at the end of next week's show, and I cannot wait for that match. I think that is going to be a great match. Kazarian's been doing some great work on TNA. Joe Hendry has literally been the man of the moment. He's been unlucky on a couple of occasions not to walk away with the NXT championship. And now he gets an opportunity to face Nick Nemeth. If he beats Kazarian next week, he will face the most wanted man at Bound for Glory. Interesting times. But speaking of interesting times, it is main event time on Impact Wrestling. It is Pitts the Hardys and Masha Slamovich against Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards of the System, and Tasha Steelze. Really fun 6-man matchup. Of course, Alicia Edwards would get involved in this match at some point, as Matt Hardy was going to go for the twist of fate, but the referee ejected Alicia Edwards from ringside. The crowd go crazy for that, and she makes a big issue, to be fair, out of leaving. The whole hands on hips deal, everything like that. Outcome, though, Bullet Club ABC, who hoist her up and actually carry her to the back at this point. It was brilliant to see that, actually, from ABC. It was well surprised, to be honest. It was the word I used when I saw him. It was great. And then eventually on this, Masha hits the turning splash through the ropes on Steelze. Jeff Hardy hits a twist of fate on Edwards. Matt Hardy hits one on Brian Myers. And then Jeff hits the Swanton bomb off the top for the one. And then Matt goes for the cover, hits the 1, 2, 3. And the Hardys and Slamovich pick up their win. And what a fun main event that was. The 3 celebrators. Tom Hannifan mentions next week's show. Obviously noting that the Bound for Glory kickoff is also next Thursday night, which will be interesting. On the road to Bound for Glory kicks off next Thursday night. Now, next week we get on tap TNA. Next week, Rosemary and Wendy Chu from NXT take on Jordan Grayson, an NXT mystery partner. John Gresham goes one-on-one with Laredo Kid. Zachary Wentz and ABC take on Kushida, Slater, and Bailey. Take my money. We obviously also got Heather Reckless and Zaya Brookside, the debut of Ling Lee, Zaya Lee, and of course, in the TNA title eliminator, Kazarian versus Joe Hendry. Shaping up to be a huge week next week as we start the road to Bound for Glory on TNA. Make sure you download that TNA Plus app. Get it subscribed. Watch all your weekly TNA on there, including Bound for Glory. And you can also watch it on AXS TV in the States, DAZN if you're streaming, and Ayozat TV over here in the UK. But that, everybody, was your TNA Impact review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Please follow us at HTT Buckle on Twitter and YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. We'll be back with some more review shows, interviews, your lot. But until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.